What's going on, everyone? Bass here, and today we're going to be going over day 9 of Green Bay Packers training camp and giving you my takeaways from today's practice. Today was a padded practice. This video is a little bit later in the day because I was at the dentist earlier and I kind of had to wait for the numbing to go down for me to be able to actually talk correctly. Alright, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. So first, some injuries to list. Aaron Jones with that hammy injury. Kenny Clark with a groin injury, which is a little bit worrisome since he had that groin injury last year and missed a few weeks at the beginning of the year. EQ with a hammy injury. Juwan Winfrey with a shoulder injury, which isn't nice because, if you're a guy like Juwan Winfrey, you really need all these reps. You need every single preseason game to make the roster, which he's fighting for. So hopefully he can get out there Saturday. It's unknown, but hopefully he can. Chris Blair with an ankle injury. Stanford Samuels with an undisclosed injury. Randy Ramsey with that ankle injury, and Kamal Martin with the knee injury again. Just sad to see Kamal Martin on this injury report. That's literally the last thing he needs right now. And on the PUP/NFI, we still have Bach, Kevin King, Zadarius Smith, Kingsley Keke, Redmond, and Isaiah McDuffie. Now, Matt LaFleur did note that all these new injuries aren't serious, but they might be out for like a week or two. So none of them are really, really serious. And then also Rashawn Gary did return today after missing yesterday's practice with a sore groin, so nothing to worry there. Definitely need Rashawn Gary this season. As I've said countless times in previous videos, and pretty much everyone's been saying, I believe this guy's going to do really good this year and, be a breakout player. All right, so now let's move on to my takeaways from the offense in today's practice. So I'm going to start with Amari Rogers. Still continuing to turn heads at Green Bay Packers training camp. Definitely looks to par with what the Packers, expected him to be, being a third-round draft choice in that Clemson offense. Today he had a diving catch against Darnell Savage, just a very wow play, probably the best play of today's training camp. And overall, just, like I said, turning heads, making good plays in training camp. And I'm very excited for Amari Rogers. I'm excited what he's going to bring to this team. Not only offense, but special teams with punt return and possibly kick return, but mainly punt return. I'm also interested to see how much he gets in his first year. Everyone keeps making this correlation between him and Randall Cobb, and now that they're teammates, even more so. But it kind of really does remind me of that when Randall Cobb got drafted in 2011, and he didn't really get a lot of offense his first year. He's mainly the kick return, the punt return, got some offensive drives, and snaps. But I believe Amari Rogers will be similar because as of right now, he's kind of that fifth receiver. You have Devontae Adams, of course, MVS, Allen Lazard, and Randall Cobb. So, he's probably that fifth receiver. He's, 100% going to play, but how does he fit into the offense? He's been, using a lot of, they've been using him in the backfield a lot, handing off to him from the slot and stuff like that, jet sweeps. So pretty much the gadget player that everyone expected him to be, and just very excited for him. So A.J. Dillon is still being used more and more in the passing game, and I've been saying this a lot this offseason and even end of last year, and when we even drafted the guy, that I expect him to be used more in the passing game than he was in college, which is coming true now. It seems to be in practice where they're just throwing a lot of different looks at him, allowing him to go out for passes and screens and wheel routes and seams and all that. So really hyped for that. I think A.J. Dillon does have great hands, and as I've said many times before, I just really think he wasn't able to showcase that at all in Boston College's offense because they do not do that. So again, to have running backs that can, be multifaceted like Aaron Jones and all that, and can go out for passes and catch and beat linebackers easily, very, very valuable. So if A.J. Dillon, starts getting that into his game, look out. So a nice matchup for this camp, and we've been seeing it more and more, is Marquez Valdes-Scantling has been matching up a lot against rookie corner Eric Stokes. Probably the two fastest guys on the team. MVS will say he would beat him in a race. I believe he said that in an interview before. I don't know. I think Stokes is a very, very, very fast player, but the thing to note with MVS is his hands have seemingly got better, which is good because obviously last year he had some of those drop issues, especially on deep balls. So I'm hoping MVS can turn that stone too with the drops and whatnot, because he's a very, very good player, very, very good deep threat. And also with Eric Stokes, obviously he was struggling a little bit in the beginning of camp, but he's a player that learns off of that, doesn't get mad at those type of things when he gets beat. He learns and then gets better, which he has been doing. And speaking of wide receivers, Devin Funchus has been a nice surprise to this camp so far, especially after sitting out a year. You didn't know exactly what kind of shape he was going to be in. he's also turning heads. And this just shows the great depth that the Packers have at wide receiver. Devin Funchus is still fighting for a roster spot. That number 6 wide receiver that seemingly 4 to 5 guys are fighting for. But today he even pretty much mossed Josh Jackson, who is also fighting for a roster spot. So it's going to be a very interesting battle come these preseason games. Who takes that 6th wide receiver spot? And like I said, Devin Funchus is turning heads, so it might come down to special teams as well, like I said in a previous video, but who knows. Overall, I'm interested to see Devin Funchus and all these other wide receivers come preseason games. So as I say in pretty much every video, Elgton Jenkins continuing to be so dominant there at left tackle in David Bakhtiari's absence. And I'm going to keep this short. I'm just very confident in Elgton Jenkins, as you should be too. Everyone here should be confident that this guy's going to be covering Aaron Rodgers' blind side maybe for, we don't know how long, but hopefully shorter. But if he has to do it for a long period of time, say 4 or 5 weeks, he can definitely do that. It would be nice to have Bach and Elgton week 1, but that may not be the case. But I'm very confident with Elgton there at left tackle. So staying on the offensive line, Jon Runyan Jr. and Ben Braden are still kind of splitting reps with the ones at left guard there, still battling it out there for that left guard spot while Elgton Jenkins is over at left tackle. In my eyes, I believe it will be Jon Runyan. I think he will gain that starter spot. But that's not to discredit how well Ben Braden's been playing as well. Definitely a surprise come this training camp before it started, before OTAs and all that. Ben Braden wasn't really on my radar to be a second string or even first string lineman, maybe even not even make the team. So definitely a nice, pleasant surprise. And also just to speak for the Packers' depth at offensive line. You're talking about an offensive line that's not going to have the best left tackle in the league for maybe a couple weeks, but they have a lot of depth, especially after signing Dennis Kelly. So I do believe it's going to be Jon Runyan there winning that spot, but you never know. Ben Braden could also start at right guard in Lucas Patrick's spot, so who knows. But overall, they're having a nice camp battle there at left guard. So today, Josiah DeGuara started taking snaps at H-back, which I really love him in that spot. We saw a glimpse of what he had at that spot before he tore his ACL last year. And pretty much, the Packers spent, a 3rd-round draft choice on this guy, so they're going to want to use him. And I think H-back spot is like a perfect position for him in this Packers offense. So I do expect him to get a decent amount of snaps if he's healthy come week 1 and ready to fully go 100%. I do expect him to get a lot of snaps in that H-back spot to start this season. So in running back news, rookie running back Kylan Hill did get some first team reps today in Aaron Jones' absence. And I've been on the Kylan Hill train. A lot of people think Kylan Hill will not be running back 3. It'll either be Dex Williams or Patrick Taylor, who both have been looking good in camp. So all 3 have been looking really good in camp, or someone else. But I believe Kylan Hill is this running back 3. I'm pretty certain of it myself. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty certain of it myself. And one of the main reasons being is he is the front runner right now to be kick return 1. So again, a lot of these younger players or edge of the roster guys will make the roster if they contribute on special teams, which Kylan Hill will do if he's kick return 1. So very excited for him. I think he has a lot of raw talent. Will he run a lot this year? Probably not. He might get some, and hopefully knock on wood if there's any injuries, but I think he will be running back 3 over Patrick Taylor and Dexter Williams. So Robert Tunion is really dominating this camp. Rogers is looking his way a lot in team sessions, and it's working pretty much every time. Robert Tunion is pretty much catching everything. I think he had a couple touchdowns today in camp, in today's training camp. So he may just hit double-digit touchdowns again this year. Robert Tunion is such an underrated tight end. I believe he's definitely a very good tight end in this league, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers throwing to him or not. He seems to always be open and to catch everything, and I think we definitely have a nice tight end there with Robert Tunion. And then lastly, for offense, moving on to Jordan Love, because I know a lot of people like to hear about Jordan Love and his progression. So when Jordan Love throws a ball, when he wants to let it loose, it's really a laser. The dude has a nice arm. He's also a sneaky scrambler. He seems to be able to move pretty quickly, which I think he ran a 4.6 40, so it speaks for that. But sometimes when he's throwing deep balls, he kind of lofts them a little bit, which he definitely has to fix. But overall, Jordan Love looks miles ahead from what he did last year. And I am super, I know I keep saying I'm so excited for certain things, but this is probably number 1 on my list, just to just to see Jordan Love get some NFL snaps come Saturday. And then the preseason games after that, because Jordan Love's going to probably get 80%, 85% of these preseason games. So all the snaps there. So I'm very, very excited to finally see Jordan Love with some real-time NFL action. All right, so now moving over to the flip side, my takeaways on defense. So undrafted free agent safety Innis Gaines, who wasn't drafted or was in the 2020 draft class, not the 2021, but he was never on a team until the Packers signed him to a future contract in January. So I still consider him an undrafted free agent for this year. He's probably been the best undrafted free agent in this year's camp. Definitely has a chance to fight for that backup safety spot, along the likes of guys like Henry Black and Vernon Scott, and also Redmond, who's been out on NFI. But the Packers definitely have kind of some holes there in that back end of that safety room, especially if you have Amos dropping into the box. You have potentially Darnell Savage going into that a star cornerback, slot cornerback role. So you definitely need depth there at safety, and Innis Gaines has really been impressing, and he definitely has a chance to be that undrafted free agent that makes the team. As for cornerback, Eric Stokes is still starting opposite Jair with Kevin King out. Like I said before in multiple videos, Eric Stokes needs every single rep, so it's going to be nice going into these preseason games, hopefully him getting a bulk majority of these snaps. Now, obviously, you still have guys like Kadar Holman, KB Nento, Stanford Samuels, Josh Jackson, who... Yeah, Josh Jackson, that's all I really have to say. But yeah, Eric Stokes is getting majority of these first team reps, which is really good. He definitely needs it. And, you know, as I said before, he was kind of struggling early on, but he's learning from his mistakes and he's getting better every day. So very interestingly, the defense came out with a 4 defensive lineman set in today's practice, which included the likes of Jack Heflin, Dean Lowry, TJ Slayton, and Tyler Lancaster. So, not a set you're used to seeing, especially under that Mike Pettin system, or even if you go back as far as Dom Capers, kind of the more of that 4-3 set look, but more big guys down low. Definitely the set you would want to bring out to stop the run, stop a running team like the Tennessee Titans or Derrick Henry, which is definitely a good thing to practice because there's a lot of teams who have a very solid running back and all they like to do is run against you. So to have a set to be able to, you know, kind of combat that on short downs or even just first down if teams like to always run on first down, that's definitely good to practice. So as for the outside linebacker room, the fight for outside linebacker 4 has really been heating up with Randy Ramsey out, which in my opinion was linebacker 4, but with his injury, Jonathan Garvin, Chauncey Rivers, and Galliai have all been fighting for that outside linebacker 4 spot, and all of them are making some nice plays and pressures. So if Randy Ramsey injury is more serious than it seems, you know, one of these players, Jonathan Garvin was a draft choice last year, so one of these players might steal that outside linebacker 4 spot. But if Randy Ramsey comes back and plays these preseason games, I fully expect him to be outside linebacker 4. And hey, the Packers could still even keep a 5th outside linebacker. So these 3 guys are definitely fighting for that spot. And then finally for defense, talk a little bit about Adrian Amos, who we all know about. And then finally for defense, I'm going to talk a little bit about Adrian Amos. He's been practically everywhere when it comes to team drills, making pass breakups and just pretty much everywhere flying around the field. And that's to be expected from us Packers fans. We know exactly how good Adrian Amos is, but that just makes me want to talk about how underrated and clinically underrated Adrian Amos really is when it comes to the broad NFL fans. There's a lot of disrespect for Adrian Amos, even Darnell Savage, and just this Packers safety / DB room as a whole. A lot of people won't even mention Adrian Amos's name when talking about some of the top safeties when it's completely wrong. I believe he had the top PFF cover grade last year. Just overall, Adrian Amos, such a great signing, and the fact that he came from the Bears and plays even better now is even better. And he trashes Bears fans on Twitter, which is awesome. So overall, love Adrian Amos. Expect a big year out of him and Darnell Savage in that safety room as a whole. And then finally, one last thing, according to special teams, Amari Rogers and Randall Cobb are still getting those punt return 1 reps. I believe the starting punt return come week 1 will be Amari Rogers. And then also with kick return, Kylan Hill is still the front runner for kick return 1. Again, like I said, probably why he'll be running back 3, why he will get that spot. And this is a lot of faith going into young rookie players for 2 very, very important positions on this football team. But I believe those 2 definitely are some of the better options, are the better options for those 2 positions. So that's about going to do it for today. So the Packers do have practice tomorrow, Wednesday, and also Thursday, then off Friday before that game against the Houston Texans on Saturday. Very, very excited for this first preseason game. We finally finally are going to see some real football, and I couldn't be happier. And let's go get this thing. I think the Packers definitely do have a very, very solid roster, and just excited to see these rookies play in the preseason, and especially Jordan Love. So on that note, I'll catch you all in the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.